Arts Award will be presented to both an individual that has made a significant contribution to the arts community, along with a small business and a larger business organization. So you're on notice. Get busy. This individual shares Meri's passion for the arts and her adoration for the city of Nashua. He understands the value of the arts within a community and is willing to invest in it. In 2012, Governor John Lynch appointed him to the State Council on the Arts, where he works continuously as an advocate for the economic impact of the arts, both locally and throughout the state. In 2013, he testified in Congress opposing House Bill 561, which proposed the elimination of the Department of Cultural Affairs. In that testimony, he stated, "This bill is not just about the state supporting our arts community. It is about the state sending a message that it recognizes the arts as a critical part of our economic landscape and quality of life." Thankfully, that legislation failed. He said, "It's not enough to have a good job on weekdays. We also want to enjoy rich arts and cultural experiences on our weeknights and our weekends." Having state support for such efforts is critical to our message that New Hampshire is a great place in which to live and play. He totally understands that when a community values art and is willing to invest in it, people view that community as a vibrant place that they want to be part of, whether they're residents or visitors. The Chamber's Leadership Greater Nashua program focuses an entire day-long class to arts and culture, traveling across Nashua and exploring the role of and how to support our arts community within our city. For these reasons and his support of the arts and willing partnership in multiple city community events, as well as other cultural-minded organizations, the 2014 Meri Goyette Arts Award is presented to President of the Chamber of Commerce, Chris Williams. Congratulations. You've been on my
I know, I was trying to get a whole day with you.
I don't know. Whew, that's a bad plan. First annual Meri Goyette Arts Award awarded to J. Christopher Williams in recognition of outstanding support of the arts in Nashua, presented by City Arts Nashua and the Nashua Arts Commission, April 6th, 2014. And Chris is going to share a few words with us.
Thank you. So, for those who I know well in the room, you know I can't resist a microphone. So, thank you very much, Mayor, for that presentation and for giving me just a minute or two. Meri, you were the very first community leader who reached out to me when I took my position as the new president of the Chamber back in 2006. Many of you probably don't know that story. I was putting together my whole plan for how to come in on day one and put the office together and map out this strategic direction for where I wanted to go in the community. And on my desk, I hadn't even come into the office yet, and there was already a message on my desk for me to call some woman named Miss Meri Goyette. And I didn't know who she was at the time. I was about to learn who Meri Goyette is. She took me out to lunch down to MT's. We sat down outside. It was a warm summer afternoon. I started around June, July or so. And she took me down there to MT's. We sat outside and had a 2.5-hour lunch appointment where she proceeded to tell me everything I was going to do to support the arts community within the city of Nashua. Meri, I have not forgotten that conversation, and many of the things that you and I spoke about that day are already actually taking place and starting to grow legs here within the city of Nashua. In my 7.5 years, close to 8 years now, that I have been in my position, I have been extremely fortunate and lucky to be in a spot where I can actually interact and engage with almost every different stakeholder that's in our arts community here in Nashua. I think it was President Coolidge that said way back in the 1920s that the business of America is business. Far be it for me to challenge an American president, but I would say that the business of a community is reliant upon its community in general. And the community is only as good as its arts and culture and heritage within a community. And to have someone like Meri Goyette who champions this every day, not because she has to, not because her job or position requires her to do so, but she does so because she has a genuine, passionate love for the arts and what that means here within our city of Nashua. Our business community, our community in general, could not be more fortunate to have a champion and an advocate like Miss Meri Goyette. Meri, thank you. In my role, I get to be a cheerleader a lot of times, whether it be on stage helping to run different events, or whether it be up in Concord advocating for interests. But one of the more fortunate parts of my job is getting to actually engage in a real meaningful way with a lot of different arts advocates within our community. It goes back to, again, a business community being only as good as its arts and culture and heritage. Here in Nashua, we don't necessarily have a lot of major museums and the traditional performing arts centers. So our arts and culture and heritage is not necessarily displayed on walls, but it instead springs from our community itself, from ordinary people, all of us who have very normal jobs, who outside of our jobs care about the arts and culture and heritage. And when I think about that, I think about the dancers that you saw here, Nina and D-Rock, putting together that sort of a performance. I think about the Peacock players who came in and performed a couple of their numbers. Our own poet laureate, who isn't from Nashua, but certainly represents Nashua and its interests on a statewide stage. But beyond that, we got to hear from Positive Street Art, or hear about them earlier today in the program. I think about our actor-singers here in the community. And I think about all that the Telegraph does through its Encore edition to help promote the arts and culture within our community. We're extremely fortunate to have people who aren't necessarily on walls in terms of plaques and trophies, and this is really nice. But what's more important is the fact that we actually live this sort of arts and culture every day outside of our day-to-day jobs. If you've never made it over to the Picker Building, I encourage you to do so. Look at Bonnie's art that she produces. I bought some of it. It's awesome. You look at Mint Print Works, you look at Test of Time Photography, or the Renaissance Glassworks, just a few examples of the hidden jewels that are within our community. You look at some of the other arts that we have here that aren't necessarily visual arts, whether it be the Spartan Drum and Bugle Corps that is part of our culture and heritage landscape. These are really neat opportunities that we have here. And I'm hoping that as this particular event starts to grow in the future and become bigger, much as the mayor said, that 5, 7, 10 years from now, we'll be unveiling even bigger and better things to do with our arts and culture. I try not to lose any opportunity to talk about our need, in my mind, for a performing arts center in this city. And yes, there's a lot of talk about that that's been done in the past, and some would say it's a pipe dream that'll never come true. But since I'm at the podium, I'm going to tell you that we can make that sort of a thing happen. And those who are interested in it, we do want to be looking at that. So it's not something that's going to happen next year or 2 years down the road, but it could indeed happen here. And we could be using this sort of an event to unveil that sort of a new addition to our city. Thank you for this opportunity here today. Thank you for giving me a few minutes on the mic, Mayor. I appreciate that. And Meri, thank you for allowing me to be a part of what this special event is today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.